is that, the rep from KVCOG, whose name is Grania Shaw, will be, picking up where we stopped last time. And she's gonna be guiding us through the document there that we are suggesting, changes and modifications to.
So we left off last meeting that we had a couple lingering ones that we wanted to go over and really devote some time to. I think, where was that? A lot of that was regarding the wastewater setback question of it. We were allowed to have that and make more stringent requirements, which Mr. Steele found out we are. So that's gonna be back on the table.
Okay. And I found an ordinance from York where I think they did a pretty good job of it. If you reviewed that, it was on the table, right? Where they just increased the state requirements by 33%. So essentially, they went from 90 gallons per bedroom to 120 gallons per bedroom. Okay, so that's an in-law apartment starts at 120 gallons per unit, and then 90 gallons per bedroom after that. So that seems to be an easy way to do it. Also ADUs, our systems are supposed to be designed for a minimum of 2 bedrooms. So that would be automatically 180 gallons.
So,
Increase.
I'm sorry.
If we didn't increase the field to, 120 gallons per bedroom from 90.
so my comments, and the concerns I've expressed before the board on multiple occasions before, and also sent everybody an email about, are more focused on protecting water quality rather than the size of the system, and its ability to handle the wastewater, which sounds like what you're describing. I think the simplest way to deal with this is, as I suggested in my comments, and I know you folks had thought at the last meeting that you weren't allowed by state regulation to be more stringent than the state's subsurface wastewater disposal rules. And when I looked into the rules themselves, I was pretty sure that was the case, but I was able to verify, and you all have, I sent it by email on Tuesday, and you all have copies of it in front of you, of the actual rule that very clearly states that municipalities can address wastewater disposal as long as the town is ordinance is more stringent, and then at the end of the process, a copy of the ordinance is provided to the wastewater program at DHHS, at the Department of Health and Human Services. I also confirmed it with Alex Pugh, who's the head of the subsurface wastewater program. And he verified that, indeed, that's exactly what the language in their rule says. So that's not an issue. What I'm suggesting we be more stringent than the wastewater rules is simply in the setback between a new subsurface wastewater disposal system and an existing well, to ensure that well does not, when you have smaller lots, when there's less area, less soil, less distance for the water soluble contaminants to become diluted. That's just a function of distance, and largely. And so there are existing regulations that apply to where a drinking water supply well can be drilled in relationship to existing wastewater systems. For a private well, they have to be at least 100 feet linear distance, And for a public, a small public well, like for a restaurant like Sunset Grill or, you know, a convenience store like Christie's, which are considered transient public drinking water supplies. Beloga Pie, for example, they have to be at least 300 feet away. I'm suggesting, and other towns have done this, we use those numbers since those are derived based on the threat of the wastewater system to the well in terms of contamination, that we use those same numbers for the setback of a new wastewater system from an existing well. I think if we do that, we'll be pretty assured that as smaller lots are being developed for whether it be for an accessory dwelling unit or have multiple residences on a lot in particular, as a result of LD 2003, where, you know, our ability to apply our existing lot size standards is limited, to say the least, that we compensate for that and reduce the risk to those wells of contamination with these wellhead setbacks. It is one way of, that's terminology that people in the drinking water world use. I think we could be pretty assured that we could avoid the worst of the sort of unintended consequence of LD 2003. And to do that, I think it's I know at the last meeting, you folks decided to strike out that language wherever I had suggested it be inserted, but I believe it would be prudent to include it, not only where I suggested it, but also included in the part of the minimum lot size ordinance, which I just thought was oversight on my part, that deals with multiple dwellings on the same lot. I had only suggested it be under ADUs and affordable housing. There's the three sections, those three sections. So I think that would assure us that, and we could assure then the select board that this ordinance will adequately protect public safety. I mean, if we're not going to do that, then there's no point even having an ordinance as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the wastewater already stipulates 100 feet and 300 feet. The same way.
It doesn't, it stipulates that, you can be as close as 60 feet. I actually have a copy of
That
it if you'd like to
requires a
see it.
variance.
Pardon?
That would require a variance.
To be that close is 70 feet, I think. Well, it would have to be,
No, it's 100 feet is,
no,
Any
for a variance.
I don't,
But either way, so what are you talking, 300 feet from a well?
for
public
commercial.
well, like the school well, Sunset Grill well.
So that's not a residential.
That's not a residential well, it's a public drinking water supply.
So you're only asking to upgrade these standards for public drinking?
Public and, no, 100 feet from a new, from an existing private well, like a single household well,
Yeah,
and 300 feet from a public drinking water
and that's
supply.
basically what we have now, except for you can get a variance to come closer in certain situations. So right now, I gotta be 100 feet from a well.
Is that really the way it works, that they have to go to DHHS to get that variance? It could be closer, as close as 60 feet?
50. If you got any,
Yeah, see,
Do you have the language for that?
yes.
here's the rub. Hydrogeologists don't agree that that's adequate. Because what the premise that's built on is that you have a drilled well, here's the lot line. And you have a drilled well, look at that cross section, you have a drilled well goes down into the bedrock, here's the bedrock surface, here's the soil surface. And here's your septic system. that if you go down, what's the distance? If you have casing down to
80 feet.
80 feet. Let's use 80 feet. So let's say here's your screen at the bottom of your well, and this is 80 feet from here down to here. Then you can be, this distance here only needs to be 60 feet. But that assumes that groundwater flows like that. That's not how groundwater flows. The dissolved contaminants flow, depending on the soil, they flow like this. They form a cone. Some will go in, some will go vertically depending on the soil type. And if this is the bedrock, oh, I got this in the wrong place. Should be up here. So it's gonna, the groundwater flow is gonna go like this. Depending on how much water this is sucking, it could be even more direct. So it's fake hydrogeology is what it is.
Well, the casing's up there, and the casing's down into ledge, and it's forced into ledge, and it's supposed to be a seal. So if it's crossing across the top there, it really doesn't have an effect on your well down there.
Yeah, except that it's not just going
I'm not,
one line, it's going like this.
but I'm not arguing also, I mean, if you wanna use the 300 from, public, which is already in place, and 100 from a well, the private, then I'm not really gonna argue that point. I'm fine with it.
Except that maybe I'm misunderstanding your point, Greg. It sounds like you want to rely exclusively on the the state
So
regulation
basically-
as it's currently written rather than
Well-
supplementing it.
Well, you're basically, if you go 300 and 100 for the second septic, I'm
Mhm.
not talking the original, I'm not talking about a residence.
Mhm.
That's got their own rules, and we're not messing with that. For the accessory dwelling, they have to put a septic in. I'm fine with the 300, 100 without a variance.
We got a,
Well,
compromise
then we
there?
don't have any disagreement.
Yeah.
I don't see,
But, all right, that's for a second septic.
right,
But if you're putting an addition on your home for your mother-in-law and you need to upgrade your septic, that's not included.
I'm good with that. My intent was only for new systems.
So we got-
100 feet of,
And, ADUs and expansion would be considered first time. So it falls under the new system rules, first time.
what's that?
An expansion for accessory dwelling units would be considered a first time.
First
system.
time, right.
So it's not a replacement system, which has different
Or an
standards.
expansion. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So maybe, should we use that terminology first time? Because that's the terminology from their regulations, right? And the terminology you would use or site evaluator would use.
yeah, and if you're gonna put it in as ADUs and this is for the first time ADU system would have this without variance, right? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, that's fine. If he wants to use the 300, 100 without a variance, I'm totally fine with it.
So we got agreement.
So,
To simplify this even further, there's nothing in this rulemaking saying you have to allow an ADU to have a bathroom.
Yeah, we're not going there.
Put that one out there, there's nothing in there
Yeah,
saying it needs running
I-
water or plumbing.
yeah, I agree.
You
with
use the
Craig.
town office.
I think that has to be there. That option needs to be there, as long as it doesn't pose a threat to the neighbors' wells.
I'm fine with those numbers.
So I think to help you, let me see. What I was thinking was, maybe we should come up with the the language I used before might not be as well written as maybe we would like it. Let me see if I can find it. So,
You know what page was that, Mr. Baker? I mean, Mr. Seal? Like, I can remember.
That was in minimum lot size, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
That was-
and also there's like language in the, multifamily
Mhm.
dwelling unit, so that, but if we can come up with language that we all can agree with. So what I, in my comments, had simply written, and this may need some tweaking, is wastewater disposal systems may not be located less than 100 linear feet from a private well or less than 300 linear feet from a public drinking water supply well. Maybe that should read, first time wastewater disposal systems. Is that what?
No,
I understand.
No,
first times go by the regular rule, but the additional wastewater. I mean, if somehow we're gonna tie this in where it's just an addition to a house, you can upgrade your septic
right.
wherever it is. If you're building another house, then that's gonna follow your rule, your distances.
So the way I handled it
Where you
was,
need to put a second septic system in.
I didn't include that in the general standards that would apply, like if you built the house. Okay, a single family home. I only included it in the affordable housing development section. In the accessory dwelling unit section, and the section that's labeled, oops. What is it? More than one residence, additional dwellings on one lot. So those are the ones that are as a result of LD 2003, right?
Yes,
Because I only wanted to be very specific to those, those kind of, those developments, those residences that are being constructed under the allowance from that law, state law.
Yeah. So the accessory dwelling unit can be attached to your house for the in-law apartment. And that, I don't feel needs to be included.
Okay, so we need to give some more thought to how to do that.
Because if they expand in the existing system, it might already be.
It's already there, and if it's inspected and it's still working well, then they have to add one more bedroom size to it. Then they shouldn't have to be limited from, they should be able to use the rules in place.
Anybody else have suggestions on how to do this?
I would think it needs to be broken into two sections and clarify that for an attached or contained ADU, septic expansion shall be treated as a first time use.
Yeah,
Well,
something like
And then
that.
for a new detached accessory dwelling unit shall be treated with those standards.
Once you label it an accessory dwelling unit, the subsurface wastewater automatically has to be 2 bedrooms.
Mhm.
So you can't use an existing system like you're adding a bedroom. It's more than a bedroom. So dwelling unit is bedroom, kitchen, bathroom. And
So
so,
the rulemaking doesn't specify that it needs to have a kitchen or bathroom. It doesn't specify that it has to be 1 bedroom. And that's kind of some of the strangeness in it.
well, if it has its own septic system, the rules are for any new system, minimum 2 bedrooms. So it's 180 gallons,
Mhm.
so it doesn't need expansion.
If that's a new septic system, but
Yeah,
if
because
you're expanding an existing one.
But you wanna treat these all as first-time systems. Right, to meet the first-time criteria without.
If it's attached. But if it's a separate home,
yeah,
then I'm all for you.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. There's gonna be an inspector, if they're gonna use an existing system, that's gonna be inspected under the provisions that are already in here. For its adequacy. So I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the new systems and how close they may be to wells.
Cause I grew up in a house that had an in-law apartment in it,
Right,
and, you know,
right, yeah, no,
everything was fine.
right, so,
And it had its own kitchen, bathroom, bedroom.
cause,
My grandmother lived in there.
right, yeah, I lived in a house like that too.
So I don't wanna make that more difficult to happen for people to move their parents in with them. But anything new, as far as a house.
Or a caregiver.
Caregiver.
Mhm.
But as far as a house goes, then I'm all fine with,
Cause
so if we can separate that somehow.
the existing language, and I believe this comes right from the DECD rules that you took it, you know, allows for connecting to an existing system.
Yeah.
I think maybe I don't have the terminology down right, Hans, maybe I don't really fully understand what a first-time system is.
It has different, more strict criteria than a replacement system.
Oh, okay.
So if you have to replace an existing, failed system, you're given a little bit
So
more.
is there a specific terminology to an entirely new system?
First time system criteria. And to your point of the dwelling unit, isn't defined in here as having bathroom, kitchen, bedroom. But if it didn't, then it would just be an accessory structure, it wouldn't be an accessory dwelling unit.
But that's, so,
And we've been dealing with accessory structures forever.
mhm.
So,
So the accessory dwelling unit is a self-contained dwelling unit. And that's it. And so accessory structure would not be for dwelling, would be the only difference.
Bunkhouse, an
So
accessory structure that's,
you can, I mean, you can live in an accessory structure, but then it's not a structure, it's a dwelling unit. Your dwelling unit, according to
Okay.
these rules.
okay.
but a bunkhouse can have a bathroom, eh?
No, it's not supposed to have plumbing.
No problem.
Well, that's not. They can have, a wet bar, and they can have a toilet, but it can't. It's different. Belgrade treats it different than other towns, and, so I've had to pull the showers out before, bathtub and showers, but we can leave the toilets. Right.
But a toilet has a toilet has plumbing.
Yeah, it can have plumbing.
Bunkhouse means an accessory building that has no plumbing and is intended to function as temporary sleeping accommodation for guests, the property owner of the single family dwelling. No plumbing.
Plumbing is ours, that's why toilet is accepted.
No, plumbing is pressurized.
Well, I'm telling you what I've had to do.
So is that the wastewater
You're doing out of the ordinance.
The problem is that it's defined differently
Mhm.
in the housing law and in DECD rules, which is really what we have to follow in this particular instance, so.
So this is definition is different from the EDC?
Yeah,
So what is the definition of the EDC?
For accessory dwelling unit,
Yeah,
a self-contained dwelling unit located within, attached to, or detached from a single-family dwelling unit located on the same parcel of land.
okay, got
An
it.
accessory dwelling unit must be a minimum of 190 square feet, and municipalities may impose a maximum size.
Okay, I understand. What is the definition for accessory structure? Accessory structure unit?
They do not define it. They define a dwelling unit
Yeah,
as a structure through sale or lease intended for human habitation, including single-family and multifamily housing, condos, timeshare apartments.
so that implies it has a bathroom.
But the accessory dwelling unit has to be subordinate to the dwelling unit,
Right.
and that's, you choose how subordinate you want it to be.
And- Yeah.
Because that is something that came up at the open house that I went to, it was, can you say you can't have a bathroom? And there's nothing saying you can't. So,
I'm not interested in that, but,
No, I agree that I think they should be allowed to have a bathroom. if they so
yeah,
wish.
shelter facilities.
I mean, if it's a grandma place, grandma wants her own bathroom.
Yeah, kitchen or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't wanna make her go out in the middle of the night, come to the house.
And,
Porta john.
but, another concern is, off the septic thing. Is, once they have this accessory dwelling, so they have this 1,008 square foot place off to the side. They can't, I mean, can they up and sell that? Or does it depend on the lot size or?
It's gotta be subordinate to the primary. Yes.
you can't have an accessory without a primary.
Yeah. So. So they wouldn't be able to sell that separately.
Mhm.
They wouldn't be able to break that lot up. If it was 2 acres, they could.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think you could, but then it wouldn't be an ADU, it would just be,
Yeah, I was thinking I'm thinking you couldn't sell it if you didn't have double the lot area or whatever.
Right, so if
If
they
you
fit the
did-
lot criteria, they could sell it. And if everything fit.
That's what I would think.
But if it was a smaller lot, they couldn't. Sell it separately.
I think that's the case.
Right.
Hans, if I just want to go back, circle around so that we can kind of come to agreement on what language, we're going to insert in the minimum lot size ordinance, regarding the, wellhead protection. But there was something you said that I want to make sure I understand. If somebody expands an existing system, is that considered a first time system as well? Okay, I thought I understood that correctly. So here's some language that, avoid it, what I'm suggesting apply to the expansion of an existing system. First time, disposal, wastewater disposal systems, other than expansions of pre-existing systems, may not be located less than 100 feet, blah, blah, blah. Does that sound like it works? Hans, what about?
You talking just about the field or any part of the? system?
I'm actually concerned just about the field, where the,
And disposal field.
okay, so the wastewater disposal field rather than system, because where the tank is, where the piping is, doesn't matter. It's where the contamination's actually going into the ground.
so for a detached ADU, the outermost edge of a first-time disposal system, other than expansions of a pre-existing system, may not be located less than 100 feet from an existing private well.
And rather than system, Hans suggested, disposal field.
Disposal field, yeah. So you could have
That
your
way the tank could
ADU,
be like 96.
Yeah, right, yeah.
so it could be.
That's not,
Could be 10 feet away on the
Yeah.
boundary line, because a lot of people put their well on a boundary. But you just have a pipe going out 100 feet,
Yeah,
yeah,
pump it
right,
out there.
right,
yeah, no,
yeah. Particularly if the space is tight.
So for a detached ADU, the outermost edge of a first-time disposal field, other than expansions of pre-existing systems existing prior to July 1, 2024.
My concern is after July
Yeah.
1st.
so just
Okay.
pre-existing.
Of pre-existing systems may not be located less than 100 feet from an existing private well.
Yeah. And
And you might even want to say no variances allowed,
No variances will be granted.
or without variance, whatever.
so, that simple language or, could be just cut and paste into the additional dwellings.
Mhm.
And then the affordable housing sections of the minimum lot size ordinance, and then in where it shows up in the multifamily dwelling unit ordinance.
So,
I think that's where is it? I guess I didn't write it down.
so I put that under C, additional dwellings on one lot, one wastewater, and that became 5.
Yeah,
Um, And then I'll put it under D, accessory dwelling units. One wastewater. And it'll be 5 again.
Now, she doing the same changes, do they show up here?
Yes, I might have to save it first,
Okay,
but yes, it will show up.
I'm not seeing it yet,
Okay.
so I'll wait for you, take your time.
You should see that now, I just saved it.
Still going to accelerate, it's going down.
Sarah, when we get through that, I have one issue I'd like to readdress too.
Sure.
We start raising.
Yeah, I got it, number 5 here is blue, isn't it?
Yes,
All right, excellent. So, so are we wrapped up with this discussion? And we have it in all the places that we need it?
I can't, if we could, I couldn't, I'm not quickly finding where it's in the
I haven't gotten multifamily yet. I have to add it still to the multifamily.
Oh, okay, all
This
right,
was
no,
already
I was, yeah, I was just trying to, I think it would be, probably under, 5A. Somewhere. Was wherever you think, but,
And then where can we find the definition of first time use? Is there so I'd like to add that in the definition section.
I'm not sure they define first time use, 'cause
Okay.
it's pretty self-explanatory, it's first creation of a septic field.
Okay.
First. This manual is not really good with definitions, no, it's not defined here, because there's a first time using creating system, and then there's replacement system.
Okay.
So there is no definition of the first time system.
It's not in the manual, I mean, like,
I thought that.
Should we add a definition for that?
this ordinance you gave us also doesn't define it. New York. Or, yeah, it was.
So we really, this far, we tackled, we make sure that the language with the 100 feet, distance is there. What about the 300 feet?
300 feet from public law.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
there, that language is there too? We just add it, that's it?
Yeah, it would be in the same.
Okay, what do we want that wording to look like? Just the same thing,
Yeah, same thing.
but 300 feet from a public
Yeah, from a
public drinking
well,
water.
and that's, And that's defined in statute. If, I can't remember if that's already defined and probably not,
So right now we have language right there for the 100 feet, but not for the 300.
yeah. If you need a definition for public, I can get you one off from state statute if you'd like.
I have that from doing
You have
comp
it,
planning,
okay.
yeah. But thank you.
Now I see it live as you're typing. That's brilliant. So I haven't forget you yet, Mr. Baker.
No, no.
Let's
No
hold
hurry.
on here a little time till she finishes this.
No hurry.
The closest drawing I can come to a definition that says any system other than replacement systems.
That really clarifies it.
Cause you've got compost and toilet,
Yeah,
that's a first time system wherever you put
incinerator
it.
toilets, incinerating toilets.
Pork privies, that's the first time usually. Well, I mean,
This is actually very cool. I can see what she's typing and your typing has it has a tag. It says it's GS.
Yep.
All right. We're almost there. So now you're gonna copy that into the dwelling unit.
Yep, so that is all added into minimum lot size. And then here's the family.
So yeah, okay. So we are done with this one then, Mr. C, all right?
yes,
All right. So
Thank you.
before we go to Mr. Baker here, I missed at the beginning of the meeting, do roll call because we're gonna have minutes. So we're gonna have everybody introduce themselves for the minutes. So we have,
Grania Shaw, and I'm a planner with Kennebec Valley Council of Governments.
and we have Mr. Baker, Mr. Richard Baker. We have Mr. Craig Alexander. We have Mr. George Steele.
What's his name?
I'm sorry. And we have Mr. Hans Rasmussen, who's our CEO, and myself, Sarah Ranget. Sorry about that. So now, let's get going here. Mr. Baker, you had a point.
I was just, we talked last week about, sections that had reference to the Belgrade Comprehensive Plan. And I had this still question of whether or not we can't include that in the ordinance. And I was thinking of we did our solar rules. Did we not reference, the plan? I don't know for sure if we did or not, but, I know we included areas that were in the plan, like Minot's Hill,
Right.
yeah.
I'm not sure in the solar portion, my recollection is that in the solar portion, we didn't, say you couldn't put a solar facility in a certain land use district. But, there are different standards in the commercial development review ordinance, depending on what district you're in. So if you're in the village district, the vegetative screening standards are basically just a few shade trees. Versus if you're outside of that district, they're more, elaborate. So we've done it before, I mean, the draft here has sort of generic language that comes from the DECD rules. The, I don't know if we had the latitude to vary from that, but, much of that doesn't apply to Belgrade. We have a comprehensive plan, but we don't have any of the other documents that it cites. I mean, it would if I was an applicant, particularly for, any kind of a housing project, like an affordable housing project or a multi-dwelling unit project, it would be helpful, I would think, to me, to know which districts are we really talking about in the comprehensive plan, or which ones are designated as the growth districts, and which one, and consequently, as a result of that, by default, which ones are not. I mean, I mean, it's pretty clear, it couldn't be clearer on the map that was adopted by the voters.
There's a map, yeah.
Hans, by the way, you have a big poster size somewhere amongst all the other maps, you know, floodplain mapping, the shoreline zoning mapping.
Don't even know where to start to look.
Last time I saw it, it came out of that closet
Yeah.
across the hall from you. You're
There's
wrong.
about 100 and something maps in there.
Yeah, this is on a poster board, just like the shoreline zoning. Anyway, this map that you've all no doubt seen,
Yeah.
but you know, it very clearly, the legend very clearly lays out the growth districts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. The village districts, of course, which you may recall, well, I guess Rich and I are the only ones that actually worked on the comprehensive plan.
Way back when.
Yeah, way back when, but the state actually had us enlarge those, large the village districts, the general development district, which are basically the existing industrial lands in town, and the landfill. So that's not very helpful, but the residential district, which is along pretty much every town road, the Route 27 corridor overlay district, which goes along the length of Route 27. So it's pretty extensive. But you know, it's a question, I think it's a question of how easy do we want to make it on an applicant?
Well, I don't think that, you know, that was fine and dandy with commercial growth. But, as far as residential, I don't think we need that in the residential portions of things. You know, as far as, because then you know, it's people's property. If they want to put a house on there, they can put a house on it. So, you know. So do you make, you know, affordable housing, if it's too many units, it's gonna go under the subdivision ordinance anyways, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so we've already got rules in place for that. So just adding this just to add it is, it's just a plan. Doesn't have any authority unless you put it in there. And that's why you guys are putting it in there. And, so as far as residential go, it doesn't need to be in there.
So what I would suggest, and maybe this is still not acceptable to you, Craig, but not having it apply to all residential development by any means, but have it only apply to the larger scale residential development, being the multi-dwelling unit development, so that if we, you know, a larger so that, you know, large apartment complexes, the large 3+ affordable housing developments, if there should ever be such a thing in Belgrade, I kind of tend to doubt it, but I'm not talking about accessory dwelling units or single family homes or
That stuff's gonna be caught up in the subdivision ordinance.
Except that there's no comparable requirement in the subdivision ordinance, because when we wrote that, we were thinking single family subdivisions of single family homes.
Well, when you say 3+, that kicks into multifamily. So again, we're outside of minimum lot. We're talking about multifamily.
I'm talking about
So that's a.
having it in the multifamily. I don't know if that's what you were
So
talking
you're
about.
basically saying that I would put a 6-unit apartment building if it wasn't in the correct location, as that comprehensive plan,
Well,
even though I own the property.
So that I
It's the
correct,
multifamily criteria, the multifamily ordinance.
Craig, where would you put it in Belgrade that isn't in the growth area? I mean, are you gonna put it in one of the resource protection conservation areas, most of which are owned by Inland Fish and Wildlife or the Land Trust? Or some of the backland that doesn't even have road access or the shoreline zone, as a practical matter,
And why would it need to be in there? If it doesn't, if it's not gonna restrict them, then why would it be in there anyways?
yeah, you said a scenario before, what was that? I
Yeah,
missed
so if
it.
I wanted to put a 6-unit apartment
Okay, where,
in any property that I owned anywhere,
okay,
Let's just say on the top of Buptail Road, just for argument,
alright,
big open field.
but that would be in the growth zone, because it's road access to it.
so then why would it need to be in there?
So, I mean, one of the things that we have to consider is that the ordinances that we propose need to be consistent with town policy, and the comprehensive plan, albeit not an ordinance unto its own right, is town policy as approved by the voters, of course. And the recommendations, which include, where we should be directing growth and where we shouldn't. I mean, I don't want to be in the position of advocating an ordinance that's not consistent with the comprehensive plan. That'd be ludicrous. We'd be opening ourselves for all kinds of legal trouble.
Well, how is it not I mean, if you're telling me it has no restrictions, other than restrictions already like, protected areas and all that stuff, then why does it need to be in there?
What do you mean, I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I'm losing you on
So
that.
if you just told me anywhere there's a road, I could put it in there. You're just saying, well, where was I gonna put it in wildlife protection area or something like that? We can't do that anyways. So I'm not seeing the reason why to include it.
So what you're saying, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. So what you're saying is that in this ADU thing that we're talking about,
Yes.
you would not like to have the comprehensive plan to be
I
put
would
into.
not.
And I don't disagree with that particularly. I only wanted it to apply to large scale housing developments. Or multi-dwelling units like large apartment complexes, large condo
And what do you
developments,
call large?
3 or more. Like, I mean, I don't want an apartment complex next to my house.
They own the property. It's not up,
Tough nuggies.
they pay the taxes on it. Until you stop paying their taxes.
So
That just flies in the face of the comprehensive plan.
I'm gonna need help to understand, at least to follow the conversation here. The comprehensive plan,
If you wanna put a bigger number than 3, then I may agree to it. But to limit me. If I wanted to put up a 6-unit apartment,
so I guess, before we go there again. So help me understand this. So this plan was approved by the voters.
Right,
So,
in 2014.
2014. So we already know that this is the guidance that, we're gonna have in town for growth. That the areas of growth are gonna happen along where the red marks are.
Well, yeah, unto itself,
That's why I say-
it doesn't do anything.
That's a plan,
So that,
it means nothing.
so I'm
But
actually,
the thing is that all the voters agree on this, is what I'm getting at.
Well,
Yeah,
all the voters didn't
it,
think it,
it's-
they accepted it, what it is, they didn't vote, they accepted it. And what bothers me is, this is, like Rick said, a plan, it's fluid, it's gonna get updated, it's gonna change. And to say that only growth in this area can happen, or we're gonna refer to the comprehensive plan, but that's not really a legal document, it's a guideline document. And I don't know where lawsuits would come, legal trouble would come from varying from the comprehensive plan.
Okay, then-
well, statute requires subdivisions to be consistent with the town comprehensive plan.
oh, God.
It's the only, and we, every ordinance rewrite I've been involved in since I've been on the board in 2015, one of our goals was to make it consistent with the 2014 comprehensive plan. I mean, that's what the select board wanted us to do. Say to think we're, emperors or something, and we're gonna do other than what the voters approved, just flies in the face of town government and what it's about.
But at the same time, to Craig's point, you have 20 acres of land and you wanna put an apartment house in the back of it, because there's a great view, and you're gonna offer it for, senior housing, whatever,
Mhm.
and it's not in the red district or whatever, then it's not gonna be allowed.
Probably not.
That's right.
That's, I can't buy it, well,
No.
I'm not on the board, but
I'm not buying into it.
But if the state statute says so, we could,
Well, then, when we
Okay,
when we
okay.
bring this to the select board, we need to tell them right up front, this is not consistent with the comprehensive plan.
what part of it are you feeling is not consistent with the comp plan?
so,
Because it's not in the bylaw, because comprehensive plan doesn't mean shit.
Hey, I'm rewriting it right now. It means a lot.
Unless you put it in the ordinance, and then
That's
it
right.
becomes law.
Right then.
And no offense, George, but you're working on both committees, so you wanna see the comprehensive plan put in everything can. But I don't agree with all the comprehensive plan. And a lot of people don't, so yeah,
Well, and
and
I
that's the
agree with it.
2014, this is 2024, 10 years later. And, so we're not required to put that into our ordinance. You're pushing for it, but we're not required to. So I don't think it needs to be in there,
So the growth areas are more just a suggestion that. this is
unless
where
you
we-
put it into the ordinance.
Right,
Right,
but the growth area, so in. The issue with the ADUs is that it's in a growth area or served by public water. So I know the town's putting in public water at some point in the near future. Is the public water going in areas that are not in the growth area?
No, it's exclusively in a growth area. It's only in this triangle though, because of salt contamination from the town sand salt.
can
pond.
you explain that portion? I didn't.
So. If a lot, where is it? If a lot does not contain an existing dwelling unit, municipalities must allow up to 4 dwelling units per lot. If the lot is located in an area in which housing is allowed and is located within a designated growth area consistent with the Growth Management Act, or served by a public special district or other centrally managed system and a public special district or other comparable sewer system in a municipality without a comprehensive plan.
And so that comes straight from the DECD rules?
Yep.
Okay, so we don't have any choice in the matter, really.
Yeah.
So our argument is,
So that,
Off and
that,
on.
that Growth Management Act is a state law,
Yes,
and that's a
it's also
state.
getting rewritten right now. Just to add another
So
layer.
that's a state
on
law,
there.
this is gonna go against a lot of people here in town, I'll tell you that. So this state law is the one that requires a comprehensive plan.
There is no requirement by law to have a comprehensive plan. It is recommended to have a comprehensive plan because it makes you eligible for various funding
So then
opportunities.
Greg is
and-
right, this doesn't mean anything.
It's kind of a carrot approach.
What that means,
Means that if you want to apply for state grants, you have to have a comprehensive plan.
You need to have a consistent with state guidelines, comprehensive plan. You can write a comprehensive plan and it not be consistent, but then you won't be eligible for certain projects.
So, Grania, you said something that I forgot, going back a step. I mean, the only reason we're here is because of LD 2003 and the regulations of the Department of Economic and Community Development that implement that law. Those regulations specify that, for example, ADUs, affordable housing, and more than one, all that residential development, other than the single family homes, have to be in growth areas.
They do not have to be,
Oh.
you have to be, they have to be allowed.
so they don't have to be. So it will
Okay,
be.
so that brings us back
Yeah.
a little bit, not, you still disagree, but the larger, like a large affordable housing project,
They should,
could
they
go
just have to
anywhere in
be,
town.
they just have to be allowed in the growth area, they
Okay.
don't have to be there, so we are clear.
Okay, so that, all right, so that's not a restriction on our decision making.
So we're good, we have both ends of that, we have win-win situation, you can do it, but we have to allow in the growth area, that's. Do not restrict it to in the.
Yeah, and I'm, like I said before, I'm not concerned about the ADUs, if, you know, where they're gonna be allowed wherever a single family home, somebody could put them in a friggin' wetland if they wanted in Belgrade. Could we allow single family homes in wetlands? I'm not focused on that, I'm focused on the potentially larger scale housing developments, you know, apartment complex of 10 or 15 apartments, whether it's days or the ones along Route 27,
So
or, you know, what probably, you know,
what you're saying is that we should restrict that kind of development
to
to,
growth areas,
to the comprehensive plan.
to the growth areas delineated in the comprehensive plan. Just those larger housing developments. You know, the others, I don't really, I'm not concerned about.
So you still have issues with that.
Yeah, I have an issue with putting the comprehensive plan in the ordinance.
I mean, it's in there right now. You're arguing for taking it out
So,
in the ordinance, in these draft ordinances.
Yeah, it's in the draft,
Yeah.
the draft.
Not in
Yeah.
there.
and everything in the draft is debatable.
What about this? Brian, tell me if I'm getting way off base. I'm just trying to find common ground here. How do we define a major subdivision?
I don't believe it is, I believe only a minor is,
But,
or it's, yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, we got this,
but we're in a minimum lot size ordinance right now, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about multifamily. issues.
right, yeah, no,
We
I,
need to take this to the other ordinance and talk
yeah,
about there.
I'm just, I'm trying to react to, come up with some common ground here. Craig earlier said that he might be amenable to considering, limiting, affordable housing project or limiting family dwelling, unit developments if it was larger than 3 dwelling units. And you may recall, I don't have my ordinances with me, but we had this kind of similar debate with the subdivision ordinance, so we decided to keep a minimum, a small scale subdivision with lesser requirements, and then we had a major subdivision, and I'm trying to recall where the demarcation was, if it was
looking it up, to see.
I think it's, I was looking at it today and I think it's acreage size or number of lots created.
Number of lots.
Yeah, no, I know it's number of lots, but.
I thought mine.
I'm thinking, where I'm going with this is, let's use the same number, so if it's 8 or 9 or whatever it is.
4, I think, 3.
It's 3, I think.
Yeah, that's minor.
Yeah.
But then we had a second category for major subdivisions. And where the requirements were more rigorous. Let's use that same number. And say, let's say it's 8, okay, just for, as an example. So it would be multifamily dwelling units of 8 or more. Units would need to be in a growth area.
So LD 2003, you only have to allow up to 4. You can be more permissive, but you don't have to be.
For ADUs.
For ADUs, yes. You
So
have,
we
if
have,
if it's an undeveloped parcel in a growth area, you need to allow up to 4 ADUs on that lot.
that will require a primary,
Yes, you would have to have your primary structure
first.
and 4 ADUs. The third and fourth units may be located within a structure or multiple structures.
So you can have your primary, an ADU attached to it, and then a duplex.
Yes,
Or 2 separate houses.
yes. If the third or fourth units are built within a 5-year period, this may be subject to subdivision. And that's from the rulemaking. I think the question about the comprehensive plan is really gonna come back down to when we go through our policies and strategies tables, that we're going to encourage growth in our growth areas, but it's not limited to. But this is where we would like to see, if somebody wants to build a 6-unit apartment complex, the town would prefer it to be in these growth areas. And I mean, that's all that the policies and strategies table does. It's suggestions, it's recommendations. There's no, you.
But it
must-
doesn't have to have it.
Correct. We would
Right.
like it to.
And I'm taking it to the next step. I'm saying that the way the town's gonna implement that policy and those recommendations is by incorporating a limitation on where the larger multifamily dwelling unit developments can go in town to those that are growth areas, designated growth areas by the comprehensive plan. Did you find that, Rich?
No. I'm still looking at it. You think it would be on a definition, but it's not. I
I
found
think it's around
it.
page 40.
No, I don't. Maybe I do have them. Anyway, I don't know, do you want to, Craig, am I making myself clear in terms of what I'm trying to do? In terms of finding middle ground?
And this all goes in the multifamily.
Yeah, it goes into multifamily, not, I would actually argue for eliminating it from the minimum lot size ordinance.
Well, that's where we are.
Okay, minor and major subdivisions. Minor subdivisions are limited to residential or non-commercial subdivisions only. Yeah, 3 to 4 or less lots. I thought it was bigger than that. So everything more than 4 would be a major. It's probably not big enough for you, is it?
Um,
What would be big enough?
apartments and stuff. Um, yes.
That's a lot of, it
So-
will be, well, that's gonna be quite a parking space and everything else.
So you can
That's
tell what
only-
we're doing, we're horse trading, we're not
Yeah.
making that. Partly because the select board in the past has always expected us to come in with a consensus document.
Yeah.
So based on what Craig has just mentioned, you know, what do you think of everybody else of eliminating any reference to the consistency with the comprehensive plan's growth areas in the minimum lot size ordinance and in the multifamily dwelling unit ordinance? Keep it, but have it only apply or say that multi-dwelling developments of 10 or more units have to be in a growth area, designated growth area. Am I doing something illegal? And whatever
No,
other
I
thing.
would think that'd be fair.
I mean, it wouldn't be a inconsequential, a 9-unit apartment building, it's not an inconsequential development. To have in a wetland or, you know, wherever, but, I mean, that's probably unlikely, but, example, but it would be, they could go anywhere, basically. I don't know what you think of that, Chris.
I'm fine with that number.
I'm not sure about that number. I just trying to think this out loud. Cause, I mean, we're locals and we know how we roll. So in the big scheme of things, if we will have influx in the summer and other people coming in and investing here, I might roll with it. But if you are an outsider coming here and you start trying to figure out the ordinances and everything else, and they look at this map, say, I will say if I'm coming out, I said, you know, how come this is here and this development is out of the red zone? So, maybe I'm trying to think it over too much, but you understand what I'm saying?
I just don't wanna be paying taxes on 80 acres
No,
of
I
land
don't,
and not be able to use it,
don't get me wrong,
you
I'm
know?
all with you down that road.
So that's my argument.
Yeah, I understand that, I don't disagree with it.
My family's been paying them, I'm paying them now. And
I'm paying taxes too, but I don't want, next to my house, I don't want a temp, apartment development either. So, and I understand your point, and then even, I don't know.
We should buy the property.
in, well.
I bought the property next to us, so it wouldn't be a junkyard.
There you go.
Yeah. So, by the same token, if I wanted to build it back on my house to make money, I don't want anybody to tell me either
Right.
or not.
No, you buy a hillside, and you wanna put up apartments and let people sit there and enjoy the view.
Yeah.
It's your
Harvest,
choice,
harvest,
regardless of what
whatever
the
you
town
wanna do.
says, it's a red or a green or a yellow zone.
Yeah, but, okay, I'm gonna trade my mind with you on this thing. So, it faced me or made me think in the same portion that, we were, thinking of, we were qualifying solar panels. It's different because the solar panels, you don't live in the solar panels. And with the buildings and the apartments, you're providing housing and a home for somebody. But, this, apartment complex, when you go to a city and you see buildings after buildings and, you know, wood after wood right there, it's really striking for me. That's why I don't live in the city. So that I probably just overthinking it, but, just, we live in a very special place. And somehow, for whatever the reason, in the last 2 to 5 years, people have been attracted to come here, invest and build, and then rent. And then this is where the Airbnbs are coming in. So, yeah, we want development, we want the economy to move, but if this will keep going and then we start building apartments and so on, then Belgrade is not gonna be Belgrade. And I'm not sure that that's gonna happen, but we're setting up this scaffold for that to happen, if we deviate from this plan. That's all I'm very concerned about. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but I just, reiterating this 5-10 years on the road. If all of a sudden we all start building apartment complexes.
So Sarah, are you thinking a different number, or just,
I'm not sure how to take it. I'm not sure if to restrict it to the areas where we can do it, or have a number, or maybe having the number is the balance point.
I think we're getting a little away from LD 2003,
Okay, so
We are,
and unfortunately, that's what pays me to be here.
So let's,
I have to rein you
I
guys
will
in.
agree with, what these guys, has set up. You type it up, what is it, 8 units? 10 units?
Not this,
But that's not
That's not
accessory
minimum lot
dwelling
size.
units. That is something way outside that purview.
it's multifamily.
So that will go into
So
the,
we need to push that to the side. is
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
What she said.
okay.
I
Sorry
hate
about
to
that.
be the party pooper.
I'm glad you got us right now, and
discussion went a lot further than what my question was, can we leave reference to the comprehensive plan in the ordinance? And we really went on, so.
I would not take the comp plan out because it is specifically mentioned in the rulemaking. The planning board and the comp plan committee will meet and go over the land use zone, future land use and existing land use, and go over that policies and strategies table. This might be a better discussion for them as to where you guys want the growth areas to be and policies and strategies that go into that table. That might be the best way to handle it. And there's nothing saying you can't come back and re-edit this once you get it to that July 1 deadline. So the rate the comp plan's going, we're going for next year, having it this time next year being adopted. So if it's adopted in a way that's satisfactory to the comp planning committee and the planning board, and then
yeah. The unfortunate reality in Belgrade is ordinances don't get redrafted or updated once every 10 years, lucky.
there is a lovely grant available right now that would pay an organization such as KVCOG to update your ordinances. And that is a 2-year program, I believe.
do we wanna do that?
I don't know. I don't know, I don't know if I can.
I have a question. So you want to leave the reference to the comprehensive plan in this ordinance, even though the comprehensive plan will be changing in the next year or two? So you're asking, or to have something put in an ordinance that you really don't even know what it's gonna say yet. And that's my version, is we're putting rules in here that you don't know what they're gonna be.
We're going off of the existing plan,
Well,
which is the
if
one
you-
that's approved, that's been approved and
So
consistent with state.
this is the
guidelines.
way I see it. The rulemaker is asking for it, we have it, and we're gonna redoing it. So if we leave it, at least we have a chair to sit on. If we don't, then we don't have a chair to sit on. So that chair, it can change in the next year.
Now, what happens if this new comprehensive plan comes before the town and the townspeople show up and say, no, don't like it, doesn't get approved?
Then the town would not have a consistent comprehensive plan.
I'm sorry, I didn't,
Then if the town doesn't approve, it would not go before the state and it would not be deemed consistent.
does the existing plan stay in place?
Plans are deemed consistent for 10 and 12 years.
So there'd be no plan?
Correct.
Getting back to whether or not to keep references to the comprehensive plan, albeit not a specific comprehensive plan in either of these two ordinances, I mean, we clearly don't have agreement amongst all of us on that these two ordinances should be consistent with the comprehensive plan. If we keep references to the plan in there, when you get a permit for an ADU, you know, one of the criteria you're gonna have to use for issuing that permit is it in a growth area?
Hmm.
So, you
I don't
know,
wanna have to be going to comprehensive plan and filtering through that and finding all the rules.
well, I mean, it's a simple matter of going to the map, but
Well,
I mean, it's not a lot of work by any means, it takes you 10 seconds, but it isn't that so much, it's the fact that we don't have agreement on that.
So if
I mean, as
the,
uncomfortable as I am with the ordinance, not being consistent with the comprehensive plan and kind of just dismissing the will of the voters.
ADUs are allowed on any residential lot,
Mhm.
in or out of the comprehensive plan
Mhm,
zone, doesn't
mhm,
matter, it's irrelevant, they're allowed.
mhm.
If it's illegally an existing residential lot. And it can support the subsurface wastewater and potable water.
So-
There's three criteria.
If the
Allowed.
parcel is located outside of a designated growth area as delineated in Belgrade's comprehensive plan, the lot owner of record for the property may have up to 2 dwellings per lot.
Yep.
The 2 dwelling units may be within a single structure or 2 separate structures. Subdivision ordinance requirements still apply. So if it's in, so, and this is only for undeveloped lots. I don't know how many you would have, feasibly, how many undeveloped parcels you have in your.
Oh, wait a second. So I see what you were saying, that we were moving out of, this discussion. So what you bringing on, it had nothing really to do with the ADUs.
Not the ADUs, well,
What you bringing on has to do with a comprehensive plan. But it doesn't go on this LD 2003. What the 2003 says is that if we look at the comprehensive plan in the areas that are determined as being growth areas, we can have 4 of them. That's all it says.
On
So
an
yes,
undeveloped lot in a growth area, the town must allow up to 4.
up to 4, can allow,
Mhm.
doesn't have to,
Right, you could just not fit them, it
right?
might just not work.
So this, what we only saying is that for the ADUs allotment, we will use this plan, but not necessarily for what you want. It's 2 separate things, I think, isn't it?
I don't know,
There's so-
I have to admit, because I had my mind focused just on the largest of developments and not ADUs. I'm struggling to. If we just eliminated the reference with regard to ADUs and affordable housing and the 3 categories what difference would that make to the developer?
Well, even if you take them out of here, they still apply in here. We still apply in the rulemaking, we still have to follow the rulemaking, even if it's not in.
DCD rules.
Mhm.
So,
It doesn't have to be word for word what's in here,
yeah,
but I mean, these are still applicable, even if it's not in the ordinance.
so we have to, what you're saying is we have to be consistent with those,
For ADUs, yes,
well, end of story.
Yeah.
We don't have any latitude.
That's
But
what the
that-
rulemaking's decided.
But
Okay, I misunderstood earlier.
this, policy making here with the ADUs is not gonna restrict,
And it will have nothing to do with,
how many apartments you want in a place.
correct. Because it's only applying to ADUs.
I'm ready to move on.
All right, so we okay with keeping the comprehensive plan and the,
You tell me. I'm
Wow.
fingers here.
I mean, we can't vary from that, I mean.
This is the rulemaking. It is what it is.
Yeah, it seems to me like our hands are tied.
but it will not stop him from doing what he would like to see with his land, though.
No, I mean, that
Understand.
would go into any of your multifamily dwelling ordinance.
Yeah, that's all.
Which would have separate categories for ADUs and apartments. Or multiple duplexes. Remember, the accessory dwelling unit is subordinate.
So in order to comply, we want me to hear this conversation was separate. Because I'm sorry, I got trapped into that myself. So,
I'm glad you brought it up, Rich. Actually, no, you know what? I have a list and that was on the list, so actually
I would suggest that you went to the bathroom. I would suggest that, you guys are meeting, the comprehensive plan group is meeting, coming up with you, isn't it?
Yeah, so we meet every month. The last Wednesday,
Last Wednesday,
fourth Wednesday, something like that of every month. But we are not reviewing future and existing land use will be reviewed. I just updated the schedule. I think it's due in like June or July. We've got some time.
Fred needs to know that.
Trying to tackle the natural resources right now.
Okay, gotcha. So I guess we're all set with that.
I did just make one quick change.
I will leave let's see what Craig, I wanna make sure that Craig is, comfortable with all this. I will say to keep it. But I wanna make sure that we're in the same tune. So, let's keep going while we're waiting for him, and we go back to that when he comes back.
To number 4 in the additional dwellings on one lot, I did just add a lot that had a residential unit on it as of 7/1/2024. That is torn down. I just added or otherwise removed. Will be treated as developed.
So we are in D,
C,
C,
C4.
4.
so that says ADU though.
What does?
Maybe I misunderstand, oh, wait a minute. Are we in D?
C,
No,
C,
C.
additional dwellings on one lot.
Yeah,
One of the
okay,
things
that's what I
we-
thought, sorry, my computer keeps on flipping around on me.
So it says, 4 says a lot that has residential unit as of 7/1/24
Okay,
that is turned down or
Yeah.
otherwise removed will be treated as developed. That's what we are.
yeah, I just, it says for a detached ADU, the outermost edge.
I don't have this.
These aren't just
For your-
exclusive to ADUs though.
The water and wastewater?
Yeah, or the more than one, additional dwellings on one lot, that doesn't apply just to ADUs. That's like duplexes and stuff like that, right?
I'm not following where you are. I'm under, so we were talking about C4.
C4,
Before, right?
C is in Charlie.
Oh, C and Charlie.
additional.
Okay, I was
dwellings
under,
On the lot. Or maybe I'm not in the right ordinance here, I wanna see.
Minimum lot size, Charlie 4.
Okay,
oh, I'm sorry, yeah. My apologies.
So I just added or otherwise removed.
Yeah, no, that looks fine.
Cover our bases on that one.
So when I was lost, what I was reacting to, and trying to say was, further up in that same, section C. Let's see, one small numeral, 5 and 6, Roman numeral 5 and 6.
Mhm.
Where the language is, I was referring to the fact that that's written such that it applies to an ADU, so. I think it just got messed up in the copy and pasting.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, so for one says a detached ADU, and the other one for an attached or within. For an ADU attached or within the principal structure.
So, I mean, is an additional dwelling unit on one lot considered an ADU?
Is it subordinate?
Well, let me ask you a different way. What kind of dwellings are envisioned that this would apply to? I was thinking like duplexes, for example, or two different single-family homes on one lot.
So. A duplex. I would have to double check, but I don't believe a duplex can be considered an ADU.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't classify it as an ADU. I would,
Yeah.
they're two primary structures, really. And that's what I thought this, section C was focused at, and then the ADU section was, specific just to ADU, so
So you want
that's.
for a detached. Residential structure,
I'm not really sure what the right terminology is, I was just wanted to highlight that the way it's written
Yeah.
currently, it's exclusive to, ADUs. That didn't seem correct.
So for attached ADU or a single family unit? Is what you want to put in there?
or other structure.
Or a structure?
Yeah, probably need to be more direct.
The outermost edge of a first time disposal field. And then 6 would remain an attached ADU. An attached ADU or one located within the principal structure.
Should you add principal structure over there too, right there? Other principal structure in 5? Instead of, say, just other structure, should you add other principles? No, it's fine, never mind.
Needs to depend on what you want that other structure to be. I mean, if you build a second single family home on a lot with a single family home, are they equal?
I would think so.
How you decide?
So, okay, I guess we wrap that for 5 and 6. We're good with that? I don't hear anybody talking, so we should be good. So, before we move to 2, so Greg, will you be comfortable with leaving the comprehensive plan in the,
Yeah, dude, if we have to.
we have to,
Yeah, no, I don't think we have any choice.
but she is having every month I guess she's having a comprehensive plan, committee meeting, and I think that will be the outlet to go and make sure that you have your views expressed so that in terms of what can be built in those roads.
So we're gonna be reviewing the policies and strategies table for housing coming up. The housing chapter, And then the existing land use and future land use chapters, I haven't touched yet. Those will probably be summertime. And we're gonna be reviewing those updated chapters and updating the policies and strategies table at the same meeting.
Being done differently than last time. Last time, there was a series of subcommittees and a steering committee. A lot of people were involved, not just one committee. And by virtue of being on the planning board, you were automatically on the land use committee. That's how I ended up on it, because I originally wasn't until I joined the planning board, and then I got thrown on that committee too. I was on another subcommittee on economic development, but it's being done.
I mean, I can, Anthony Wilson, he's the planning for the committee chair currently. I mean, I would reach out to him and see if you wanna come to any of the meetings and.
Yeah, it was a much more eclectic
Mhm.
kind of effort last time. More broader outreach.
All right, so we wanna get going here?
Yeah.
So we are in page 7. Number 2.
I mean, I'm comfortable with leaving it with Grania to, do the wordsmithing. I don't know that we need to do that tonight. I mean, we're gonna have another opportunity to review it anyway. Rather than us trying to do the wordsmithing right here and now, that a lot of times needs to be changed anyway, because it's not the best situation to do that, at least not for me it isn't, but, and I think, maybe we should focus on whatever policy kind of broader things that are still outstanding that either other members of the board have, or, and it wasn't clear to me when I watched the tape of the last meeting whether it made it all the way through the definitions or not of the minimum lot size ordinance.
Don't believe we did.
I don't think so.
Where are you now? Section C still, D?
Yeah, so I mean,
Because we're talking about broad strokes here. On 12, this is D 12. ADUs must be permanently fixed and winterized. To comply with subsurface wastewater rules. Why winterized?
RVs. They're not. I think that was the thought process with that, was to keep it from being RVs or any other sort of recreational vehicle.
So that eliminate those.
Yes.
I believe you folks added that at the last meeting in response to a comment I made or a question I had about, what about RVs?
Yeah, there's a
up on
guy like
cement blocks?
sleeping in a school bus or something.
Yeah, no, on the Point Road was a guy that used to live out at a school bus. I mean, in Norwood, I've seen a couple of RVs.
Yeah.
Where people living in year round.
Why do you put criteria as a winterization though? Somebody builds an ADU. On stilts or whatever.
Well, that's the focus, just being winterized, leave it up to the owner whether they want to winterize it or if they don't want it on.
If they want a seasonal ADU for, if they're up here seasonally. And they're bringing a caregiver seasonally or a mother-in-law seasonally. Why should they have to winterize their ADU? Why don't we just say RV? Or portable housing? It's gotta be, I get permanently fixed. I get that, but the winterizing. I think is an overreach.
Do ADUs have to? I vaguely recall seeing something in the guidance from DECD about a reference, but I can't remember if it was related to ADUs or it was something else, have to meet the whatever the state building code is.
The seasonal conversion or?
No, the not the seasonal conversion.
Move back?
What's that?
Does it have to be MUBEC?
Yes. I know we're not a large enough town that we have to, but,
But move back, the winterize has nothing to do with me, that.
okay, that's what I was asking.
Where's movement?
It's the main uniform building and electrical code, and it is only for towns that are over 4,000 people in population.
Yeah,
Oh, we don't want that.
no, we don't. I thought I saw a reference though that ADUs had to comply with that. I guess I'm wrong.
Oh, they do, they have to meet all building codes, but winterization is not a building code.
No.
So we're gonna get that out there then. And then specify no, what was it, where there's no portable?
They can't be on like a chassis.
Yeah. Permanently fixed means they're not mobile, so
Okay,
there you go.
but you said something else. Not mobile and not, so it will certainly pin an RV. Not mobile or portable,
Yeah, or, yeah, I mean, permanently fixed rules
we'll
out.
take it out,
Yeah.
So,
so let's take out,
Portable.
we're taking out winterized.
Well, permanently affixed doesn't rule out somebody putting a RV up on blocks, taking the wheels off and putting a skirting over it. But that was, I mean, it was a question on my part,
Yeah.
just because I've been seeing some.
well, mobile homes take the wheels off, they're permanently fixed, RVs have motors on them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe that would still be well, it
Still,
wouldn't be a motor vehicle, because it wouldn't be mobile, but
Should we just say, must be permanently affixed, compliant with, subsurface wastewater rules and not contain a motor?
It works for me.
I mean, an RV would still have a chassis, even if it took the wheels
Of
off.
course, that, tould be
Self
trailers.
axles, chassis.
mobile homes have chassis.
Yeah.
I mean, it is,
To this thing, overhaul the chassis.
What about a camper trailer? Do we care? They take the wheels off the camper trailer and stick it in there? As opposed to an RV, is the only difference is one has a motor and one doesn't.
And you can have something that you hold behind your car. And do the same thing, that doesn't have a motor.
Let me ask you this, Hans, would this be enforceable, seeing how I can't pronounce the other word? From your view, since you're the one that's gonna be stuck with this primarily, an ADU must be permanently affixed, compliant with subsurface wastewater rules and not designed for, recreational camping.
I just think we say RV is not allowed, period. Make it straight.
Okay. So, yeah,
An ADU may not.
Our other ordinances reference RVs as not being allowed as living space, so.
okay,
Why not here?
guess I was trying to be too cute.
I mean, and now we're crossing the line, well, what about these tiny houses that are so popular?
Yeah, so if we use what you're suggesting, we don't have to worry about that.
I believe tiny homes fall under a different law, right? I think,
Well, that's where you're parsing, I mean, I wanna keep the rules the same, but, you got tiny houses, people are taking those shed from Hammond lumber and calling it a tiny house, because they're living in it,
we did that actually.
see?
Yeah.
Now, how would that apply here as an ADU? Is a tiny house an ADU?
Depends on how you define it. It can be, it doesn't have to be.
They can still do that, they just can't drive it up, park it, and say that's my tiny house.
You guys are the ones reviewing the permits.
I mean,
Well, one
if
my
if
road
they're
now,
permanently affixed and they're connected to a subsurface waste disposal area, and since they're not an RV, I think they're good to go.
What do you think, Chris?
I really don't know this one.
So
That's the one I like.
what I tried,
I don't wanna see a bunch of RVs soaked up and call this, so. Well, however you wanna word it, so.
an ADU may not be a recreational vehicle, camping trailer, or otherwise designed primarily for recreational purposes.
That works.
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
Well, thanks.
Thank
Okay. Affordable housing, I think. I'll change that wording. Like we added in the principal structure stuff then above.
Oh, yeah, down under two, can you get strike the certificate of occupancy and put building permit?
Yep.
Certificate of occupancy is after the fact thing. We found out before the fact, man.
There was a question about parking, that's only for affordable housing developments, not ADUs.
I mean, at some point, if it becomes a problem, you know, town at some point probably is gonna have to have a parking ordinance. And do it across the board for everybody rather than singling out one type of housing.
I had asked at the open house if we could include some sort of wording that would ensure access, ingress and egress of emergency vehicles. That the park, like, so not a parking spot or designated parking spot, but there must be allowable space for ingress and egress of emergency vehicles, and that's too close to a parking spot.
Okay,
But that's, again,
yeah.
their wording. I don't know what other examples of land uses would fall under other land uses. I think we pretty much covered all of them. But I'm sure somebody could come up with something, so. We've been there. I think the next biggest thing would be C, Charlie permit application 4, and that was the testing.
That says a lot. I thought we talked about that. Lot lines of
What page again is that? I lost that. I lost
You said
it.
C4?
I thought we were already in,
I thought we did that.
back C4.
The version I have is, rather than occupation permit, it just says permit.
Yeah,
What page is that?
so lot size, but I printed these today and it seems like we may have a different.
Page 7, right?
Page 14.
Oh, all right, so I'm sorry. So section 6,
Yeah,
administration.
Yeah.
C
permit, yeah.
4, okay.
So we're down to administration now?
Well, you have a page up there. We'll keep going.
Six. 6C,
Go.
space 14.
We don't have page one.
Oh, there we go.
Keep going, keep going. That's great.
My time to go to bed here, huh?
Good with that.
Is there anything else before we have to still go through the definitions, right, or finish the definition?
Yeah.
So
And so this was C4,
C4
okay.
about, demonstrating drinking water supply from a well. Or. So this is an existing one, well, this isn't. I mean, because. Wells are poke and hope. That's all a well is. You can
I know, I'm
have
building a
that
house right
water
now.
lake to some of these wells around here, so it's poke and hope. So I don't know how we can. Put a criteria on a well.
Don't we have to make a finding they're potable, the new well?
Yeah.
So, I mean, any well can be potable, we're just gonna have to put in a. You know, it could be from a $2,000 water filtration system to a $15,000, $20,000 water filtration system. And trust me, I put a lot of water filtrations in these wells around here. I just did a house in Rome, right on the stream, which is like diagonal from mine, and it was like a $20,000 filtration system. Brand new well. So. How do we? I mean, people don't drill their wells before they build,
So,
so what's this saying, and how is it?
so let's go back one step, and correct me if I'm wrong, the state regulations require us to make a finding that the well for these kinds of housing, ADUs, affordable housing, you know, when you have multiple dwelling units on the same lot, that their water supply is potable. The state defines potable as meeting US EPA drinking water standards and the 6 PFAS standards that the legislatures adopted. I thought that was not very workable. Partly because when you have a water test done in Maine, regardless of whether you take it to the public drinking water supply lab in Augusta, or you take it to a private commercial lab, they always give you the results and then they compare it to the state's maximum exposure guidelines, which are the state's drinking water standards. They're largely many are the same as the EPA's, but some are more stringent because the state does a better job of staying up with the toxicology that is the basis of those. But you know, to refer to EPA standards doesn't make any sense because a lab in Maine is not going to tell you, oh, these meet EPA standards. They're going to tell you they do or don't meet state standards. So what I suggested was to be able to make that determination that the drinking water is potable. We rely on the state standards and we rely on the basic water test that's done for every new well or banks require for new wells. And those are the items you see there, coliform and E. coli bacteria, nitrates, chloride, et cetera. I eliminated the ones that have nothing to do with health, that are only taste and cosmetics, like iron, for example. Oh, well, no, iron's still there. That at real high concentrations, it's problematic. But there are some others that I eliminated. And then the PFAS, I mean, that's problematic, but for a number of reasons. I talked to some of the people that work in the PFAS program at DEP, and they really recommended that we not require PFAS testing except under circumstances where we're fairly certain you're going to find higher concentrations, because PFAS testing is very sensitive. They've had a lot of problems with homeowners when they take the samples, cross-contaminating the samples from their clothing They wear gloves, there's PFAS in the gloves.
Hmm.
They suggested limiting it somehow, and that's where I got the idea of, let's limit it to the facilities we have in town. That, are, you know, you're more likely to find, here. Did I forget that? Hmm.
PFAS still there, are we taking that out?
So I'm not getting this whole thing.
Yeah,
So, well, the bottom line is, we have to include something about defining the potability of the drinking water supply. And to get to your point, that a lot of times water supplies, not just in Belgrade, but in a lot of locations, have water quality problems as it comes out of the groundwater. And so that's why, although the state regulation doesn't do this, I suggested that, after the water test has been, results have been submitted to Hans, CEO, who, it's gonna be his job to make this finding, that, geez, looks like some, I thought I had included language that said, oh yeah, in the instance where laboratory test results fail to demonstrate the potability of a proposed drinking water supply well. Let's say, you know, they drilled it really well and the uranium comes back high, like the wells down around the Center for All Seasons. And they have uranium problems. The applicant should submit a plan to provide adequate water treatment to meet the potability standards. Or find a new water supply, you know, it would be their choice. So that's gets to your point, that if they have, one thing I did eliminate, by the way, was radon. I didn't include radon, even though that's a serious health concern, but, let's say they have arsenic, which is not uncommon in central Maine. They could put a treatment unit, a resin, treatment unit, on their water supply intake and, treat the arsenic and thereby meet the potability standard by getting the concentrations below the drinking water standard.
So there are no known sites in Belgrade where PFAS was tested and was found above the drinking water standard.
not yet.
Not yet.
They've just gotten developed.
Yeah, I mean, we have a massive septic spreading site and their monitoring wells have found PFAS,
Yeah, I pulled up the map.
but
It's-
not at high concentrations. But they also haven't been the focus of DP scrutiny either. I mean, the most likely places, did I put that in there? I can't remember.
Yeah, so it does say the most likely locations, which is why, because that's kind of hard to define.
Okay,
Because it's not a
because
known site yet.
not known, but the most likely are wells in close proximity to the landfill, wells in close proximity to the septic spreading site would be the two most likely places in town where we may find higher concentrations. The thing to avoid, I was trying to find a way to meet the PFAS testing requirement, but not have it be across the board. Because of what I learned from DEP, that can be really problematic with homeowners when they're testing, or realtors when they're testing. It's kind of, you know, they're not professionals at this, and so, you know, kind of, getting a lot of cross contamination, because this is a lot more difficult than testing for those other compounds that I've listed, like bacteria and nitrates, et cetera. And that what DEP's finding is they're finding PFAS wherever they test, basically. Probably all our wells have PFAS in them. And, it's just that the concentrations are not likely to be high. And so, you know, you don't want to create hysteria. Oh my God, I got PFAS in my well. When,
So,
So this is on the minimum lot size. So this will apply to every house that is built in Belgrade.
yeah, it's kind of why I'd like to simplify it to, a satisfactory potable water test. There's a lot written in here that's,
And
it's like and not submit a plan to provide adequate water. If it needs a treatment system, it has it installed prior to. When I see a lot of plans that come through and they never get built, you know, never get done.
well, that's
I
fine.
would say mandatory, you know, the treatment system be installed prior to occupancy.
But it seems to
and it's
me,
up to us to tell people they need potable water.
Well, it's
What's that
part of
mean,
the
though?
rules is.
Well,
gotta be-
it's so, if a housing structure connected to a well, proof of access to potable water, including the standards outlined in 01-672 CMR, chapter 10, land use districts and standards. Any test of an existing well or proposed well must indicate that the water supply is potable and acceptable for domestic use.
So,
so the definition of potable in the state regulation is potable means safe for drinking as defined by U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Drinking Water Standards and Health Advisories Table and Maine's interim drinking water standards for 6 different PFAS. And the 220 compounds on EPA's list. We don't want people testing for 220 compounds, it'll bankrupt them. So that's why I was trying to refine it to the ones that are required by banks anyway.
That's not actually entirely true. So I'm building a house and we are not required to test for a lot of these.
yeah, this reads like a dissertation rather than an instruction.
So-
What I'm trying to do is. just go
Come
with the
again?
instruction.
I'm building a house. My
Yeah.
builder will not test the water. My mortgage requires.
Yeah,
that I
the bank.
have- Yeah, but it doesn't require these tests.
Really?
Mhm.
What is it requiring?
I think we just have to do radon.
And arsenic.
I think so, for a
This
construction
is-
loan.
So if you go to the guidance from the state drinking water program, which is where I got these. This is their basic guidance for a new residential dwelling well. It's these parameters, they're the parameters I had at my bank
Is this public
required.
housing?
Huh?
Regular housing or public?
Yeah.
housing?
No, this is individual homes. I mean, people don't do it unless they have a bank involved, but, I mean, the bank requires it because they want their investment protected, because they own most of the house, but.
I test every well, just so my owners know what's in them. But.
Well, I was trying to come up with a simple solution. If somebody can come up with a better solution, I'm all ears. But I don't think requiring, you know, the strict adherence to the, definition of potability in DECD's rules is very workable. And this is a hell of a lot more workable, and it's pretty much standard operating procedure in Maine for new housing. The only difference is the requirement about, providing treatment if it doesn't meet the potability standard. So I'm all ears if somebody's got a better solution. I mean, we have to have something that defines potability. I mean, that's a requirement of the regulations.
The definition of potable in the ordinance, was that our language, your language, or is that something DECD came up with?
What I just read,
No, the actual definition of potable in the draft ordinance. Well,
See,
located at
um,
350.
Yeah, no, let's see. Yeah, no, that's a definition I suggested, and it differs from what I just read to you from DECD. Basically in that it substitutes the state drinking water maximum exposure guidelines for EPA's drinking water standards. Oh, okay, so that's where I put the, potable, that the testing for PFAS only be limited to places, septic or sludge or municipal solid waste facilities licensed by the DEP.
All right, well, I'm gonna have to research that for you, so. I'm gonna have to ask somebody that knows what this pertains. Before I can agree on anything, because I'm going in without any knowledge of it.
Okay, so we're gonna table that for next meeting then, is what I'm hearing, that number 4. I have no clue of any of this, I have no idea of where to look for the,
And they may say, yeah, that's basically. Next meeting or so.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
Whatever.
so,
Or they may
And-
say that's gonna cost a
and-
figure. Then we'll have to discuss it, but they may just tell me, no, that's normal. No,
all right, sounds great, so let's get moving on, next page. Page 15.
Where are we now?
Page 15.
9 enforcement. I believe.
Is it 9?
So that, the potability question was. Oh, there's 2 9s, so it was guidelines for review, so we're actually in 10 enforcement.
That, what page is that?
13,
13.
so is that enforcement?
yeah,
Press H.
I will shoot in. So we are number 6, administration. 6. We were in 6C4. We move up to, where's the 9? I missed it.
so what we were just talking about was in
6.
7, application, was potability, correct?
Right. And.
So after that would be 8 hearing. Which we didn't have any lingering questions on. So 9, guidelines for review.
That's something totally different.
Yeah, me too.
We're in minimum lot size, right?
You guys are, I'm apparently in multifamily.
Said I must be falling asleep.
No, I'm like switching between different versions.
Gotcha, I'm
and-
sorry.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
That makes a lot more sense on my end too.
I thought that was just a test. See
Maybe
if
it
we're paying
was.
attention.
It's a test for me.
So we are in page 15 then.
Yes.
All right, number 5.
I don't know why, I thought you guys had gone through all that last time,
I think we did, we just had some kind of lingering,
lingering,
yeah.
okay.
So
Um,
I'm not exactly sure.
I have no idea what to look at. I don't see 5 here.
So, D, go to D, procedure for administrating permits.
Okay.
So procedure administrative permits.
Okay. So I think in that page, 5, all the 2 paragraphs in 5 are good to me. I don't know if anybody has,
Well, 5's not highlighted. What does 5 say? You protect archaeological and historic resources?
mhm,
That's
as
what I-
designated in the comprehensive plan. I believe the concern was that those that are not designated, as in they're unknown,
Mhm.
or they're known after the comp plan.
No problem, huh?
So historic resources would be the village, so ADUs will not be allowed in the village.
No, there's only 4 in the entire town.
What's that?
The stone
So,
house on Route 8.
Those are structures that are designated on the National Historic Registry. There's only a handful. Is another section in the historical and archaeological chapter that designates places of historic importance in the town. So that would be cemeteries, some buildings. Like the old townhouse, that's not listed. But obviously it's of great importance to the town.
Currently, we're just, like in the other ordinances have similar language and it's those 4 buildings in town. I think it's the granite building down in the village, the stone house out in Route 8 and 11. I can't remember what the other 2 are.
The granite house, the attached carriage barn, a cottage on the Birches. And then there's one other small cottage that's been converted to a year-round home. That was part of the old Belgrade Hotel.
So the CEO is supposed to review these permits and not grant the permit if it's next to them or on the properties or in the town.
We've always viewed it, at least in the context of the commercial development review ordinance, that it's not destroying that particular building or,
With the aesthetic,
pardon?
the aesthetic of the building?
No, the historical value of the building. So somebody's not taking the granite building and,
So,
turning it into an adult bookstore.
I mean, I think the language is protect archaeological and historic resources, so that's kind of left up to your
Yeah.
interpretation.
yeah, it's pretty vague.
Yeah.
To the point where we talk about getting into legal trouble. Town makes a decision, somebody doesn't like it. Becomes a big debate, is it justified, is it not, was there a mistake made, is it town liable for, is it,
Hans, you're in that boat now.
stay there.
That's what they pay you the big bucks for.
But this was a carryover from our old minimum lot size or just new?
I believe this is carryover.
Yeah,
I think the only new one in this section is 3.
yeah,
Adequately
I'm good with
protects
3.
the potability of,
I'm good with like. Kind of redundant anyways.
Okay, can we move on to page, 16?
You have to do better than that, we don't have those numbers.
Okay, number 6, next page. Comply with the Boundary Plot Plan Development Ordinance. Do we have a plot plan development ordinance?
Yes, every town has a floodplain ordinance.
Yeah, we have ordinance. We even have mapping.
Let's do with that, what's next?
So, E, expression of permit.
So there was a question in that paragraph underneath the numbers. Is the CEO legally required to make written findings of fact and law? If so, it should say that.
No.
Okay. Comment resolved. After that, we can go to F. That was requesting the Board of Appeals to review. That's under appeals.
And that's a process that's already in place that we're not changing. Right. We'll wait for George to see if he wants to change the appeal process.
We'll be back in a minute. Next time I'm bringing something to drink. Some
I
appetite.
need pizza.
You will eat pizza?
Most night meetings get pizza.
So.
You go to a fire department, they feed you. Go to a fire department meeting.
They didn't put that in our budget.
Christie's is closed now. Yeah.
Do you want to check the next box before, and we come back to that one? Oh, he's here. Never mind. So, Mr. CEO, we answered a question about the CEO involvement in, find the proposal in the, compliance with the Belgrade flood. Oh no, we raised that one.
We resolved it. Han said no.
Okay. So, we're moving on to, item, F, appeals. Now the question is, it suggested the Board of Appeals, review. Should that go in there, or is something that happens anyways?
Well, my comment or question was simply that in the past, we've offered them the opportunity to review the appeal section of when we've redone an ordinance, since they're the ones that have to implement it. And in the case of shoreline zoning, we did a major rewrite of the appeal section. That was the basis of my comment, that they're the ones that have to implement it. They probably should have some input.
One question or comment I had on that section is, section 2. Paragraph B. Strict application of the terms of this ordinance would result in undue hardship. I know what undue hardship means in typical law, but I don't know whether we need to reference the actual statute to put the 4 criteria in. And again, Board of Appeals may have thoughts on that, but
But
undue
that's a-
hardship needs to be defined.
Yeah, no, that's a good suggestion. I think that to find that.
So I'm also while we're talking here, so the first thing was about going to the Board of Appeals, so are we putting language towards that or not?
That is outside of me. That is solely a you decision. That is kind of outside of the ADU thing. So,
So do you want us to handle that?
Yeah.
So maybe Hans could, forward this draft to, the chair of the, appeals board.
Good committee.
So I send it to him?
I guess so. Hans not willing to do it.
Okay,
No, I mean,
I can do
this is
that.
your committee, you send it to them,
Yeah.
I'm CEO is a part of that process.
So, once this is
Except,
finished,
my only reason was because you're the primary person that's gonna implement this, that's fine. But whoever does it, doesn't matter to me, I just,
we're saying that once we finish this draft, I want to send it to the board.
yeah, once we have a sort of semi-clean first draft, I mean, sooner rather than later, just because I don't know how long it
And
might take
this
them.
will be-
I would give them a deadline, though.
This will be before going to a select board.
Yeah, because they may have suggestions, for,
Maybe you forward this section to them, you know, cut paste it for their review, because really they don't need the whole thing, they just need this section.
Has there been any changes from what? From the appeal procedure and all that stuff, is there any changes, or is this what we had?
Well, usually there's 4 criteria, and one of them that's missing here is that the hardship was not brought on by the applicant, right? That's absent from here, that's a big one.
So the hardship,
And the other big one is the land in question did not yield a reasonable return without
Exactly.
a variance, and courts have pretty much said if you can get anything out of it, you get a reasonable return.
well, and we have to remember, when was this ordinance last updated? 2012, something like that. The other things may have changed too.
2010.
so we're missing a hardship section under appeal, and we're missing. What was the other thing that you guys said,
Return.
Financial return.
financial return?
Yeah, there are 4 criteria, I don't know if I can remember them all. Wait a minute.
So that we only have 2 criteria here then. No, never mind, we have. So where this criteria goes under, it goes under the appeal procedure.
Won't they pick that up in their review?
So if I send these to the appeals, committee, they will add up those 2 sections.
I would think so.
Okay, we're good there,
What do you think, Rich?
Would think so.
okay,
So if you're just gonna send out the appeal,
that section, yeah, copy and paste and send it over.
then probably, like they say, so nice.
All they have to do is look in the ordinance that they operate, they would find this stuff.
Alright, so I'll do that. Next, H,
I would give them a deadline too.
Yeah, it's all it needs updating. Before Valentine's Day.
yep, they have a week. So, next one, enforcement. I don't see any bubbles on that,
Well, there's a big one.
okay, tell me,
Number 1 is nuisances, that's chapter, what is it, 17? Of the state code, and that's outside my purview, I don't do nuisance ordinance.
so you want that striked out?
What nuisances? I mean,
nuisance ordinances, I believe it's chapter 17 in the state code,
But it's,
or title 17. That's
so you don't deal with nuisances at all?
not nuisance ordinance, I deal with town ordinances.
Right, well, I mean, this is a town ordinance, obviously, but nuisance
Like
isn't
spike
defined,
fence
but.
is a nuisance ordinance, and that's handled by the health officer first. Right? No,
A spike fence?
that's title 12.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know, I don't actually know any local health officers. I know that is a role that is given to people, but.
Wait, hold on a second, so,
This is, I'm sorry to have to keep doing this, but this is still outside of the LB 2003.
Yeah, this is.
Like, I gotta rein you guys in.
Okay,
so
So-
the nuisance says any violation of this ordinance shall be considered nuisance. That's what it says.
yeah, it
So
seems
it-
pretty
it-
straightforward.
Yeah, it talks about this, this ordinance. So I'll,
Then I guess we need to consider the verbiage that's in this ordinance.
okay,
And
so,
give Rhonda, go where she needs to go right now, where do we need to be?
We gotta skip down to the definitions.
okay, great.
So,
Real quickly, the shoreline zoning ordinance says any violation of this ordinance shall be deemed a nuisance.
Okay,
You're already in that game.
well, I know there's some things I'm not allowed, like spike fences, that's outside that's a civil matter.
Yeah, and that's not covered by this ordinance.
Under that,
I just got a chuckle out of that phrase, spike fence.
So what definitions can we talk about?
Anything about housing. Let's talk houses and small houses and extra
Okay.
houses.
So probably,
So we have, the new ones are ADU, accessory structure. Affordable housing, I think,
okay,
attached.
Are these taken from the state definitions or?
So some are taken from the state and then some are just guidance ones that we've gotten. I did ask them about the differences between the shoreland and this, and they kind of left it up to the town, but more err on the side of shoreland. As long as it is encompassing the LD 2003 guidance.
because the only two definitions I had any questions about, I think are outside of our purview in this revision. And I think we're gonna have to make this very clear to the select board that our revisions are very narrow and focused. They're not intended to bring this ordinance into the 21st century. It was only to comply with this law, state law, and because, like, for example, the definition of wetland is wackadoodle. It isn't consistent with state law, it isn't consistent with any of the other ordinances. And, you know,
So I think one of them was, the units of ADU and other structure size limits are based on floor area, not footprint. And so DECD's wording is 190 square feet.
you know, I don't have
Which is, what-
any issues with the ones that were specific to this bill.
so we decided to change that to 1,008, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
because of building.
Just doesn't fit.
Right.
I think the only thing to consider adding is the accessories to the accessory. So your decks, lean-tos, porches, patios, so on. If you want to address that in this definition, or if you have any limiting on that.
Right, we need help on that.
Well, how do we consider it in I mean, when we do 1,000, or say, well, we're coming from the shoreline, let's say 1,000 square feet or whatever, 1,500 square feet, that includes everything. So, do we not want 1,008 square feet include everything, or if it's not on shoreline, does it matter what the accessory, what the decks are? I mean, does it matter to us? What impact will it have?
You remember at the last meeting, did you decide that when it talks about square footage in multiple places in its ordinance, whether it's footprint or is it floor area?
Well, the state's going by floor area, right? But
Well, they weren't clear as far as I was concerned, so,
I just don't keep it consistent with the footprint.
well, that was my thought, but. But that partly because that's what I'm used to. Shoreline zoning. Do you know the answer to that question? You know, does the
Floor
state?
area versus footprint?
Yeah,
I don't.
because they don't, in their rules are kind of,
Yeah, it just says
Vague.
190 square.
yeah,
Floor
Area, for instance, that's the internal living space, your floor area.
Yes.
Whereas our footprint, if we're concerned with, you know, we refer to in shoreline as the raindrop inside the.
I think we should take that same approach.
yeah, it
Floor-
certainly would be clearer.
I know floor area can be interpreted as, if you got 2 floors, you've got double the amount of floor area, right? That's how we used to do it in
Right,
shoreline zoning.
So, you know, when I think of, well, give the example of a 1,008 square foot ADU, I think of one that has a, you know, footprint of that dimension, not, you know, 2 floors of 504 feet, square feet.
So that 1,008 won't really work on a standard dimensional size house. Drop it down to a smaller. Because. You know, a standard dimensional size house in that square footage range would be 28 by 36, which is 1,008.
Or it can be three stories?
So that would be 1,008 square feet. That would be your building. So if you're adding in your eaves, you wouldn't be able to build a standard size 28 by 36. You'd have to go smaller. So it'd be 26 by 34 or something like that,
Right.
which is kind of an awkward size. Just putting that out there.
Yeah. Could we just like round it up to 1,100 or
Why you wanna go 1,900?
1,900? Hell, that's bigger than my house by a lot.
That's what the
For an
original was
ADU.
saying, is it?
190.
Oh, no,
Yeah, so 190 minimum.
So, so basically, a 28 by 36 would be 2 feet bigger, right? If you include the overhangs, so it'd be 30 by 38. So that would be 30 times 38, 1,140.
So 1,150.
And that's, yeah,
You get room for the gutters.
so I'm good with that. And that will basically be a 28 by 36, and that will include your drip line.
Right. That makes sense to me. I don't know about the rest of you.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it too.
So we're doing 100,
Bigger.
1,000,
Yeah, right.
140
140, okay.
So we change
And is
that.
that floor area or footprint?
footprint.
Okay, so we need to change all floor area.
All right, yeah, and document to 1,000,
140.
Just the definition of recreational vehicle.
So,
Definition of recreational vehicle, is that something you created? I don't think that was in
Oh, man,
a lot of letters in the alphabet.
I messed up your dam there before the. I'm sorry, you mean that?
Looks like it was there.
So is 1,000,
1,140 is our maximum, but
Yes,
but that's not what you wrote there.
what did I just typed?
I see 140.
Because basically in this definition, we're allowing it to be considered a structure. A recreational vehicle.
I hope I don't get people sick. If I'm starting with something.
Us too.
so why are you saying, the unit must remain with its tires?
In order to be considered a vehicle, not a structure, the unit must remain with its title. And so we're saying it can be considered a structure. If it's not a vehicle. So someone just needs to get it, let it get dilapidated. And now it's a structure instead of a vehicle.
We're back on recreational vehicle again.
The definition, yeah.
That's
They don't
essentially,
date
this-
it, Bernie.
that's essentially the same definition as in the shoreline zoning ordinance. I think they copied it from the shoreline zoning ordinance.
Well, they're not allowed in shoreline zone as structures or, right?
There'd be, you can have a recreational vehicle in a individual private campsite.
Temporarily, yeah.
Yeah,
So, can we just change that to take out the in order to be considered a vehicle, not a structure, can we just
Yeah,
put in a recreational vehicle cannot be considered a structure?
You are still on page 19.
that
Or the
recreation-
definition of recreational vehicle.
Or add it to the end of it or whatever, just saying, strike out this not a structure thing. And just add a recreational vehicle cannot be a structure,
Yes, I agree with that.
somehow wording wise, you guys are better at wording. Or, what do you think?
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with all of it.
Not expending any more.
It's almost time to go home. I get sense that it's almost time to go home. We're very close, guys. We only have like 5 more pages and it's only definitions, if that. So we're still on page 19. Brian, you gotta help me. I don't see what you're typing.
I don't know, we skipped a lot of letters of the alphabet here. Did we make sure that we're happy with all the other ones?
Um. Yeah, I was just gonna check on the portable thing, along with the,
Oh gosh, you guys went all the way down. That's why I couldn't find it. You guys on page 23 already.
I don't know,
We have a bubble here in substantial start.
has anything been changed recently? I mean, we don't see any changes here.
So define one audience. Substantial start. There was a bubble there. It is,
So it just says, is this consistent with how it's defined in our other ordinances?
substantial start.
No comments there? Okay, let's go through all the bubbles here, let's do it very quickly. So there's a bubble here next to conditional use. It says that it might not be relevant to Belgrade. Conditional use is use permitted on a lot in a zoning district by municipal legislative body, subject to certain conditions not generally applicable to other lots located in the zoning district.
And Belgrade does not have zoning. So,
So should we take conditional use out? Now, we,
100% a you thing.
so this is the thing, zoning district, the village is a zoning district, isn't it?
No,
Yeah, but.
Shoreline,
Belgrade does not have zoning. There's districts.
We have a shoreline zoning ordinance, but that's required by the state. Only for
So that's our
shoreline.
only zoning ordinance.
so should we strike that conditional use?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it, Remy. I don't hear disagreement about it. So let's get conditional use out. The next bubble here is, I will suggest adding language that this is in page 21, where dimensional requirements is on the top. The dimensional requirements.
The definition for designated growth area. Is that next comment? Adding language that is specific to Belgrade and its current comp plan.
Okay, never mind, we're going, that's the number one bubble that we missed. So this definition should be consistent with Belgrade's actual zoning and commercial. That's all of them down there, isn't it? We're back to page 18. Where are,
I don't know where we are.
okay, so
I thought
let's,
we were in designated growth area definition.
designated growth area, yes.
So
I will
after that-
suggest adding language that is specific to Belgrade and is current with a comprehensive plan. Such as designated growth areas are village, general developments, residential, and Route 27 corridors, as designated in Belgrade's 2014 comprehensive plan and map. So, designated growth areas may also be referred as priority development zones and other terms with a similar intent.
So that's a definition from the state, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
let's just, not gonna change that.
So that was just listing out what areas are,
So we should be good with that bubble?
yes.
Okay, let's move to the next bubble. Next bubble is in the following page, very next to define consistent with definition in shoreline zone. So that is,
Land use ordinance, I mean, what are you talking about?
The
dwelling
dwelling
unit.
unit definition.
dwelling unit, any part of of a structure which through sale or lease is intended for human habitation, including single-family and multifamily housing, condominiums, timeshare units, and apartments.
Good for me.
Greg, you agree with that?
Sure.
All right, next one. It will be the expansion of structure, isn't it? Shouldn't this also include increase in footprint area? An increase in floor area. Should we call the floor area footprint?
Well, in the shoreline zone expansion, you know, within the 25 foot is expansion up. It's not allowed, right? So expansion is footprint and area volume. Right? Any growth is an expansion.
I think we're fine with that.
Expansion.
Yeah, I think it'd be okay.
Used to be for area or volume? Okay, good, next one. The bubble is in page 23, the top, is the definition of portable. P. This definition will be very difficult to implement and to provide guidance to, oh my God, this is a long bubble. To provide guidance to developers and,
Why don't we skip that, because Greg's needs to review that further,
okay,
and we'll come back to it anyway.
great. So we'll leave that bubble there and we'll get it next time. So, last bubble is in the last page with substantial start. So is this consistent with how defined in our other ordinances? Substantial start, completion of 30% of a permitted structure measured as a percentage of the estimate value of the permitted construction, as determined by the independent appraisal. Actual, commencement of a permitted use.
Just looking, we don't have substantial start in the shoreline,
It's in commercial.
so is it 30%?
Yes. Yes. And that's, I remember hearing it spoken of and seeing it,
I kind of remember that.
but what's not here is substantial start. Well, say they spend their 30%, now how long is it allowed to sit dormant
That's a part that we are never, there's
before it
nothing.
expires? Is there no
Yeah.
expiration?
Yeah, 30%, it's gotta have some kind of
A timeline?
to it, for 30%.
So do we want,
Not necessarily, because if someone's building a pocket and building it themselves, you're gonna say you have 3 years to build that. Or,
I
Tom's
know,
garage.
yeah, I mean, no expiration. Just a substantial start.
so
It's
we're,
their money.
well, if you gave them forever, what would they, it's kind of like, I'm gonna do 5% a year.
Whatever they can afford, you
Well,
know.
the cost of lumber went up, so Donald's garage, 30%, but now it's only about 15.
Is that the one that blew down?
Uh,
That's for personal use, by the way. That's,
But, as I say, if you don't have compare it to an endpoint, like go on forever, what's the purpose of having a definition of substantial start?
Do we have an endpoint in any other ordinance?
I don't think we do in the commercial. I think the purpose in that ordinance is simply to preserve the, permit.
So I don't see how we can put it up. I don't see how we,
we have an end in the commercial stuff. Don't we?
no, we don't.
We don't?
We should say.
Didn't the,
I'm familiar with it in the shoreline zoning. It's got 30%, start within,
And is there an end date in the shoreline zoning?
yeah, I think it's a year, or maybe 2 years now, I'm not sure, it used to be a year.
So it has to be completed within 2 years?
Yeah, let me
Or when
see.
yeah,
it
the
is, whichever it is.
substantial start has to be done within a year.
It's a
And I
substantial
don't
start.
think there's
Has to be
any-
done within a year.
There's no expiration after the start.
Oh, is that what you're saying? Within the first year, I mean, within a year, 30%.
Mhm.
Is that what you're saying? Not completed in the whole project?
Actually, completion of 30% of the permitted structure or use is measured as a percentage of the total value. I think it must be in the standards where it's using the term substantial start, or your permit is, invalid after that.
Yeah, that's gotta be within 1 year, except for commercial where we just changed it to 3.
36 months.
So, yeah, I mean,
we should adhere then within a year. Completion of 30% of the permitted structure within a year.
permit issued, or issued, or however you want to word it,
Yeah, it could be site prep, 30%.
yeah. Yeah.
Our scope's a little off again,
What's that?
our scope.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard for us to get used to, because whenever
I
we've
know.
done rewrites, we try to be comprehensive.
All right, so.
So we-
Ronnie's concerned, we're done, right?
yeah,
We need to hit, I mean, are you guys gonna tackle potable?
Yes.
yes,
So
We are,
we're
but-
done with minimum lot size.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to come back to it while Craig
Yeah, I just want to find out what it
learns from y'all.
cost is. and-
We can review this on our own and talk about it. Bring it back.
I thought we went with the dwelling one way, isn't it?
I think we got through multifamily dwelling.
Yeah.
I believe we did.
So then we're completed, huh?
I think we are.
Gosh, thank you. So we should close that meeting? Yeah. So
Yeah, I'll make these, the final changes, accept all the edits that we have, and have a finalized document, get all that, and save it as a PDF and send you the words in PDF and it's in your hands.
when we should expect that?
Tomorrow morning.
Not tomorrow morning.
Before Valentine's Day?
I'm doing my legislative research tomorrow morning, as I do every Friday morning. Early next week,
Early next week,
Yeah.
and early next week means before
probably I
Wednesday?
can get it done Monday, Tuesday.
Thank you.
So Sarah, you could cut and,
I'll paste and send to the.
yeah, and send that out, right? I can't remember who's the chair, is it Mike,
Bourne, Mr. Richard Bourne?
no, it's not. Yeah, Mike Kano, or at least last I knew it was Mike Kano.
Dick Boyne still on the committee?
Yeah, yeah.
Last I knew, yeah.
And so there is that other grant I mentioned that I think my coworker is sending that out to all of our town manager contacts. And that is specifically for towns to apply to DECD for money to update any ordinance that has to do with housing. So that would cover all these much more kind of thorough updates that you guys are looking at, if you're interested. You may or may not get more of my smiling face. You could get Joel, you could get my coworker Jess.
Oh, we will load it
Audrey.
back, so.
This grant, is it matching money or is it?
Nope, free
100%?
money.
So if you can make sure that our town manager is in that list, that would be great.
And then I'm also working with the,
Would that be
Belgrade
for the-
for the Community Resilience Partnership. So that's more free money.
What project?
Community Resilience Partnership, that's actually like my main role.
Right, that's
and so
climate
that-
change resilience?
So that's another grant.
So can you send all that information to our,
Yep, Lorna, so Lorna is already working with me on that. She had to submit a letter of intent for me to enroll. So if I get my grant, then I work with the town to get free money.
you know, we like everything that is free,
So,
so,
hard to argue with.
thank you. So would that be for the pizza too?
You know, I thought the pizza would be on you guys. You're the host.
All right, so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Next time you come.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Sarah,
Second.
make a,
Greg seconded, we voting, motion to adjourn, Mr. Baker, yes, Mr. Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander? Yes, and Mr. Rongelli, yes, so we are done.
Thank you for volunteering you to make us something.
oh, yeah.